بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره نعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. We'll just give a few minutes for the rest of the brothers to come. So we just remind me, where did we end last week? Because we didn't go through the whole of it. But do you remember where?
Well, I've scribbled down now. I don't know whether it was a very final. At Sidra, he was given three things.
Sidratul Muntaha, yeah. So he went up to Sidratul Muntaha. Then we,
The five Salah, the end
yeah.
of
So we went
Surah
up. Yeah, that's fine. So, yeah. I mean that's where we stopped. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. So yes, he went up to Sidratul Muntaha where we discussed. So, anyone remember what Sidratul Muntaha is? What is Sidratul Muntaha? We discussed.
It's the tree.
Yeah. So it's the divine tree.
That holds up the, and it leads into the seventh heaven.
Yeah.
Where the branches are.
Yeah.
And it holds up the throne, I think.
It doesn't know. No. So that it's a tree where we discussed that everything which ascends up to the heavens ends at Sidratul Muntaha, and everything which comes down starts from Sidratul Muntaha.
Yeah.
It's a tree. There are different narrations. Some narration says that it's in sixth heaven. Some narration says it's in seventh heaven, and then we discussed that how we reconcile is that it starts from the sixth heaven and it goes up to the seventh heaven. So the roots are in the sixth heaven and the branches goes up to the seventh heaven. So that's the Sidratul Muntaha. And we discussed that it's a tree which keeps changing color. The covering has got different lights going up and down, and it's got the fruits are like the jars of hajar, and the leaves are like the elephant ears. So all of those details. So that's and then Prophet ﷺ in the narration he mentions, then I was caused to ascend forth, and he went up to have that divine meeting with with Allah Himself, yeah, and so that was when he went up alone. So before that, everything. Jibreel was taking him up and up and up, and wherever he was going, Jibreel was taking him there. But at the last moment, when he went up to actually have that divine meeting, it was him alone. And as we discussed, that there's in authentic ahadith, there's nothing mentioned. There's nothing authentically mentioned about that divine meeting itself. There are books which have mentioned, but no, it's nothing authentic. So we actually don't know, and it does make sense that it was a personal meeting. It's a personal thing that Allah brought Prophet ﷺ to him, and what they spoke to each other, what discussion they had with each other, nobody knows. So we don't know what happened during that meeting exactly. But one thing we know that there's Prophet ﷺ received two things. One is the salah, so he was given 50 salahs, and then the other thing is that we discussed that the last two ayahs of Surah Al-Baqarah, he actually got them directly. And previously when we not started the seerah, but when we were discussing the seerah, we discussed different types of wahis. If you remember, I'm not going to quiz you, but anyone remember how many different types of wahis? Okay. So now tell me which one you know.
So he's
Anyone
gonna
you know.
quiz you.
Anyone you know,
Is
because
it-
you have given a number now.
The first one is dreams. The second one is. Okay, I know the dreams.
True
and
dreams.
The angels speaking to you, and then
Yeah.
the one where Allah actually brought the Prophet up to him and spoke to
Which
him.
is this one, yes. So
Yeah.
this is the only which we know of where Allah gave the wahi directly to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So it's not 7, it's 5 or 6 different types. So there's a difference. So one is when the Jibreel brought the wahi in the human form, like we know Hadith Jibreel and other Hadiths where Jibreel al-Islam came to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in a human form. There are other Hadiths where he went into the realm of wahi. So the angel didn't come, but the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went into some dimension where he was in the wahi, and the narrations that it was quite difficult for him. He will go into kind of a trance, and then he will receive the wahi. And it was physically painful for Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to receive that wahi. And then one of those different types of wahis is that where Allah brought Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself up to him to give him the wahi, which is the last 2 ayahs of Surah Al-Baqarah. And that's the only time when this type of wahi he received only once. So then the narration goes that he came down and he saw Prophet Musa, and remember Prophet Musa is on which heaven? 5th heaven or 6th heaven, because
Wasn't it Abraham? Prophet Abraham
was on
seventh?
7th.
Is it?
7th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was the last one, so he's on the last one, 7th. And 6th was Prophet Musa. So Prophet Musa, came to Prophet Musa, and
Because right now they're in the lower heaven, does that mean they're like less important?
No.
than the-
no, we discussed that it's nothing to do with their status or anything. It's just how Allah's will, and we derived few kind of things why they were where they were, but there is no clear-cut knowledge given to us why exactly. They were just welcoming parties, different prophets on different on different levels. So Prophet Musa, when he came to Prophet Musa said, I have got the most experience with the big ummas, because he's got the second biggest ummah. So I can tell you that your people will not be able to do 50 salah. Go back and ask for some concession. So Prophet ﷺ went back and asked, oh Allah, can you please reduce the number? And then there's a slight difference. Some says it's reduced by 10, 10, 10, and 5. And then in some narrations it says it is reduced by 5, 5, 5, 5. So each time Prophet ﷺ came down, saw Prophet, so Prophet Musa would send him back again. Look, this is too much. Your ummah, I know that your ummah won't be able to do it. Go and ask for some concession. Then he went up and asked for 40, and then 35 and 30, and to a point where it came down to 5. And then he came down and saw Prophet Musa again. Prophet Musa did what? He said, he said to go back again and ask for reduction, because I know that your ummah will not even do even 5. But Prophet said,
Actually, you know the prophets before Prophet Muhammad, how many times they prayed?
we are not sure. We don't have any narrations telling us how many times they were praying. But obviously they were not praying even 5 times, because Prophet Musa wanted to reduce it even less than 5. So I presume they were even praying even less than 5 times. That's just my assumption. There is no.
But he had an example of his own followers.
Yeah, so that's why
they had struggled when he
Yeah.
left them for a short while.
Yeah.
They fell into
Came
their
back,
old
yeah.
ways.
So, but we're not sure.
You know, Prophet Ibrahim was the prayer at that time.
All prophets were praying. So we presume that they taught their followers to pray as well. Every prophet pray, because even from Israel mai'raj, we know that when Prophet ﷺ was going, he was seeing other prophets, and what they were doing, they were standing and praying. So they were praying already. So all prophets prayed.
So
Would their prayer exactly like us?
that's what I'm saying. It's the same
Maybe we don't know. The answer is we don't know for sure.
Wait, were
What-
the people, were Prophet Muhammad's people praying before that came down? They had to pray 5 times.
Yeah, so they were praying, or Prophet Muhammad were praying himself, and other people were praying as well, but it was not. It was a voluntary prayer, so it
So
was
how do
not
they know-
fard.
How do they know what to do?
So Jibreel ﷺ told Prophet ﷺ how to pray, and he was praying. And before the prayer became fard, all prayers was just 2 rakahs. So there were no 4 rakahs or no 3 rakahs. So like we have got 4 for Dhuhr, 4 for Asr, and 3 for Maghrib. Before that, all prayers were two rakahs, and they were all voluntary prayers. So there was not fard. So if you want to pray, you can pray. If you don't want to pray, you don't pray.
And obviously, wait, the like pagans, they had gods as well. Did they pray to them like physically?
They prayed to them, but their prayers are different kind of prayers. Like in Quran, it's mentioned what is their prayer. It's all just clapping and shouting and singing. So that's what the Quran has mentioned. So that's kind of that's what they were doing. So they were clapping and they shouting and doing things. Like we see in other religions, like in Hindus, they do bhajan. They sing bhajans, and that's what that's their prayer. Um, and Christians, they kneel and do whatever they in the churches, different things. Same with the Jews as well. So they have got different kind of prayers, like they go and on the wall of wailing and all of the wailing wall and all different kind of things. So they have got all different religions have different prayers. Especially from the Jews, we know if they had similar prayer like ours, they probably would have continued, because Jews did actually preserve their religion fairly well. I won't say completely, but their religion is fairly well preserved. So they are the people who actually kept their religion fairly well preserved.
We say in Arab we say cousin.
Yeah.
Jude is cousin
Yeah,
for
cousins for they're all sons of Ibrahim. Yeah, do you want to share?
You know, we do tashahhud.
Yeah.
Say Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad.
Yeah.
So yeah, they used to say that something else.
They probably were saying something else. Yeah, they probably were saying their own prophets' names or whatever their prophets have told them how to pray. They were praying in that manner, but we don't have any authentic narrations which tells us what their prayers were. So we don't know, basically. So it's all guesswork. What I'm saying is I'm just making guesses, like educated guesses. So that's all.
Do people still say the nasheeds for the other prophets, or they only said for the Prophet Muhammad?
Again, there are lots of Christians.
No, but now.
That's what I'm saying. Christians, they do have religious songs, Hallelujah and what else, and all of these. So these are religious songs. So you can call them nasheeds for them. Yeah.
Wait, don't they have du'as as well, like Our Father in Hell?
Yeah, they have got prayers. Yeah, they have got dua as well. So they do dua. Yeah.
Slightly deviation from this.
That's
Prayer is a global thing, isn't it? Prayer,
Yeah.
prayer, if you speak to a Hindu person,
Yeah.
he will say God has answered my
Yeah.
prayer.
Yeah. So the prayers, they have got, every religion has prayers. Yeah, obviously they have got slightly different prayers than what we do, but they have prayers.
I think an example of them using the names of the other prophets is when the Abyssinian king, they told him, are you a Muslim or Christian? And then he wrote on the paper the La ilaha. So
And kept it in his pocket, yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly, yeah, I mean, and he said Isa Rasulullah. He wrote Isa Rasulullah. And then he said, that's exactly what I believe in, and pointed towards it. So yeah,
When the Prophet was going back and forth,
yeah.
now he never saw Allah, did he? So was it just behind the veil? How for me that's always been the interesting piece.
Yeah,
Because
I will come into a bit in more detail. Yeah, I mean that's a controversy which we will discuss inshallah. So yes,
Yeah,
that's a
it's important,
controversial topic.
That's right at the end.
You know the prayer that we pray now? Is it after Prophet Muhammad?
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, yes.
Yeah.
What we pray now is what Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has told us. So he taught us how to pray, and that's why we pray the way we pray.
Wait, this is off topic again, but is the Quran is like the only completely preserved book, right?
Yes,
So
that's right.
not even the Torah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's why I'm saying fairly preserved, not completely
You've
preserved.
got Hafiz.
Yeah. So I mean,
But
they have changed.
There's still some truth there.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of things which are true in Bible as well, but we can't really differentiate because how we know which is true and which is not, which is changed. So that's keep on reducing till it came down to 5, and then he heard the voice, and these are the 5, and we have made obligatory on you the 5 salah, and that's what we know. So Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself, although for the rest of the ummah it was 5, but he had 6 prayers fard on him. So tahajjud for us, it's a big blessing, and if we read, there's a lot of reward for us. But for him, it was fard as well. So it was wajib on him. So it's not wajib on us, as we know, tahajjud.
Why was it wajib on him?
Again, I mean, this is something which is why Allah made it wajib for him.
Oh.
It's Allah's degree. I mean,
He
we
didn't
can't.
make it wajib on himself.
Oh no, I mean nobody can make fard for himself. So it's Allah's. So decree is from Allah. So no, not even prophets can make things fard or haram for themselves. In fact, there's a ayah in Quran that which prohibits. So don't make things haram which Allah has made halal. So that's not allowed for us.
Wait, does it say how long the Prophet's prayer would be, like typically?
We know from the narrations that Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to actually pray for long. His prayers were quite long, not the quick ones like us. So he prayed on average like 20-30 minutes. His prayer would last. One prayer would last 20-30 minutes. And there are other narrations that he would read Surah Baqarah in one ayah. So if somebody is reading the whole Surah Baqarah in one ayah, so you can imagine how long will it take. It's like 3 paras. So if somebody is reading in one ayah 3 paras, how long that would be.
Wait, how
So you
long
can.
is one hour?
One rakah, sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. One rakah. So in one rakah, he's reading three paras. So that is probably what going to last like an hour or two. Sorry.
I was just saying how long is one hour?
One para? There are 30 paras in the whole Quran.
Yeah.
30
effectively
30 chapters or 30 juz, whatever you want to call them. Yeah.
Now we have 5 salah fard.
Yeah.
And then we have to pay the.
Yeah.
What's the reason for the sunnah?
What's the reason for the sunnahs? It's extra reward. So sunnah, you have to remember, is what's the meaning of sunnah? Is what Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did is sunnah for us. So he used miswak. You know what miswak is? That wooden toothbrush. So if we do that, it's sunnah. So if we do that, it's sunnah for us, and we will get rewarded because we are following Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Whatever prayers he did, like after the salah, if he made a dua, if we made the same dua, it will be sunnah for us that he did that. So we are just imitating him. So anything which he did, if we imitate that, that's sunnah for us. But for him, these were nafils. Does that make sense? Yeah. So there is no sunnah for Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam because he is not imitating anybody. So all the sunnah which we have was nafil for him. So he was just praying those nafil for extra reward, and some of those nafil he told us to do as well, but they are not fard. So it's not like they have come. The order has come from Allah. A Prophet ﷺ said he kind of encouraged us to do those as things as well.
It's a
So those are
recommendation, isn't it?
yeah, it's a recommendation. So these are sunnahs for us.
Wait, does the miswak you said, is it actually meant for cleaning your teeth? Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
tried to use it once and it just gets stuck in your teeth.
Yeah, but it does clean your teeth, and it has medical benefits, and it has, for us, the biggest benefit is that it's a sunnah. So we do it mostly for sunnah, but it has got medical benefits to it. Just the brother wants to ask something and then come to you.
I think it's hadith صلوا كما رأيتموني.
Yeah. So you play as you saw me praying. Yes. Yeah.
That, if he doesn't do sunnah, how
He was doing nafil.
Huh?
He was doing nafil.
he do nafil
Yeah.
and we do sunnah?
Sunnah. What was nafil for him
Yeah.
is sunnah for us.
Alright.
Yeah. He didn't have any sunnah.
Alright.
Because we follow him, and that's why it becomes sunnah for us. Yeah.
This is a brother Shia when they pray different than us.
Yeah, that's
where they come
from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
No,
Yeah.
because he pray with the hand.
No, that is from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as well. Maliki do that.
Huh?
Maliki,
Okay.
they pray with their hands on the side.
And they make they make all pray one time.
No,
At the end of the day,
they don't make all prayer one time. They actually do jama of Zohar and Asr
Yeah.
and Maghrib and Isha.
Because the brother Shia they make all the day.
No, they don't do all the day. So they pray Fajr separately,
Yeah.
and then they do jama of Zohar and Asr and Maghrib and Isha.
So they're forming a sort of three-step approach.
So they pray 3 times, but they are praying 5 prayers.
Okay.
So it's a misconception if somebody has that they have got 1 prayer or no. So they pray 5 prayers, but we have gone way off topic now. But let's finish it because it's something which we should know. And there are ahadith which tells us that Prophet ﷺ actually prayed Zohar and Asr together and Maghrib and Isha together without being on Safar. So in Safar everybody understand that it can do that.
Yeah.
Or if there was used to be rain, you can combine the prayers together. If there is
Why rain?
if there is a difficulty that you would be difficult to come back 2 times, you can combine it together.
Okay.
I think Dr. Gunham said at the Friday prayer, he said, if you foresee difficulty in
Yeah.
reading it at the right time, so rain would be
Yeah.
could be significant
yeah.
in the desert. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
You would say, right, rather than risk missing it,
Yeah.
we'll pray.
Yeah, or like these days when the days are very short and you're working and you get a break, lunch break, and then you don't know if you can get the break in the Asr time, and because they are so close to each other, there is a chance that you miss it. You pray together. You pray Zohar and Asr together. But even if there is no excuse whatsoever, there are authentic narrations telling us that the Sahaba have prayed together, and one like Ibn Abbas did that, and his students asked him, why did you do that? And he said, because Prophet ﷺ allowed us to do that. And he said, why? And the answer was, for your ease, just to have your ease. So it's not a good thing to do it all the time, but at some time, without any excuse, you can combine them. It's acceptable.
What's about the Friday prayer? No Friday for brother. No Juma.
No Juma?
No.
For
Brother Shia.
I don't know about that, to be honest, but again, we have to understand that Juma is not fard. Zohar is fard. Juma is not a fard prayer. If you miss Juma, if you miss Juma, what will you do?
If I miss?
Yeah.
If
What
I
will
miss
you do?
For some reason, no problem.
Yeah, but if you miss Juma, what will you do?
I pray Qadha.
No, you don't pray Qadha of Juma. There is no Qadha of Juma.
You just pray Zohar, isn't it?
You just pray Zohar.
Pray Zohar,
Yeah. So there is no Qadha for Juma.
Mhm.
You understand my point?
Yeah.
So if you miss Juma, you pray
Shias
Zohar.
can pray Juma, though they normally go. to
Yes,
the
but I've
service.
seen Shia brothers praying Juma. In fact, I will. No,
They
but
do- they can read Juma.
Yeah.
even if they in their own
Yeah, I
mosque.
mean, I've seen Shia brothers praying Jummah. In fact, I was our Imam was not present, so I was doing khutbah in our hospital mosque last week or the week before, can't remember now. And when I finished there, I was actually very pleasantly surprised to see one of the Shia brothers praying with us.
What I mean in the Quran, وَإِذَا نُودِيَ مِنْ صَلَاةِ الْجُمْعَةِ فَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ.
Yeah. No, that says that when it's the time for Jummah, you stop doing what you do. So it's a hurmat of keep doing the business, but it doesn't say that Jummah is obligatory there.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
the meaning of the ayah doesn't make the. I'm not saying that Jummah is not obligatory, but if you miss Jummah, there is no qada for Jummah.
No.
But if you miss a farad, you will do a qada for that, isn't it? But there is no qada for Jummah. You will just pray Zohar.
You can fall back to reading your normal
Yeah.
Zohar.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's carry on. Yeah.
This is going to do with something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know when you said the
Go ahead.
the wooden toothbrushes better than the normal, the basically for your dental
Yeah.
health, how is it any better than a normal?
Okay, we will discuss that later. Okay, we will discuss that. Remind me, we will discuss that inshallah later. So we'll just quickly go to the Surah Najm, or in fact, I will just skip that. I wanted to actually go through because it talks about Isra, but let's skip through because we don't have a lot of time, and I will try and finish this one. So there's another story. So again, we don't know the exact chronology, but there's a story. It's in Musnad Imam Ahmad. That Prophet ﷺ, just wait.
No, it says bodied people who had nails across, they were scratched them.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's fine. Just bloodied, probably what it says. The Prophet ﷺ narrates that he received a command for the Salah, and then he entered into Jannah. Now the question is, we know that the Adam al-Islam, when he came out of the Jannah, nobody has entered Jannah. And till the day of judgment, nobody will enter Jannah, and Prophet ﷺ will be the first one to enter Jannah. So, how do we reconcile? Two things. One is that he's probably not the entering Jannah. It means to enter to live in something. So he's not entering Jannah at this time to live. He's just entering to visit Jannah. So he's entering the Jannah as a visitor rather than to live. And that hadith which says that after the Adam Islam came out of the Jannah, nobody will enter. So yeah, that's fine. And then the hadith says that I will be the first one to enter Jannah. It still makes him the first one to enter Jannah, even if it goes to Isra mai'raj. So that's fine.
Don't some people say that it was his spirit that got taken from Makkah to Baitul Maqdis and
Yeah.
then up to the heavens?
Yeah, that's we kind of discussed that. That it's not true.
It's not
He went body and soul.
Body and soul.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's not. We didn't go just with the soul, or it wasn't a dream.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and then we know that Shaheed, they are in Jannah. You want to ask something? Yeah.
If the Prophet is entering the Jannah, then where does he actually live? Where is he actually living?
He lived in his own house. He was not going there. He was just visiting on that night. But then he came back.
Oh.
This was in his
Yeah,
lifetime.
so it's when he went up to in the mai'raj time. So Prophet ﷺ, we know that the shaheed, as soon as somebody is a shaheed, he goes into Jannah straight away. Wait, I know. Otherwise, we will never be able to finish. Yeah, just keep your question. Remember it. Just delay it a little bit. The Prophet ﷺ, so the narration is that the shaheed, they have given a body of the green bird, and they fly around, and they are hanging with the chandelier from the chandeliers of the Jannah. So they are actually not in the Jannah. They are just hanging on the chandeliers of the Jannah in a bird's body. Um, and then he saw the tents made up of pearl, and the soil was made of musk. Um,
This is my question. What isn't musk like bodily odor or something like that?
musk is a perfume.
Atar.
Yeah,
That's
musk is a perfume.
okay.
It's an Arabic perfume made from a gland of a deer or
Yeah, it's
something.
normally a gland.
Yeah, so
okay.
it's some secretion from
To
a
do
gland of a
with the shaheed bit,
Yeah.
you know, children that pass away.
Yeah,
Don't
anyone
they,
who is
don't they also have a house in Jannah?
they will be given as the children for the people of Jannah.
Yeah.
So they will become the children of the people of Jannah.
Yeah.
So shaheed and any kind of shaheed, there are a lot of different types of
Okay,
shaheed. Like
that's
someone who dies in a plague will be a shaheed, will be considered a shaheed. Someone who's wrongly who dies in an accident will be considered as a shaheed. So there are lots of different narrations where so shaheed is not only on a battlefield, so it's other things as well.
Wait, what if you're in like you're not born yet, but you're like fully developed inside your mother?
Stillborn.
So for in Islam, when you're born, that's where your birth starts, and you are considered as a human being. If you have a stillbirth, like a baby is born already dead, fully made but
Yeah.
dead, then there is no janaza for that person or no nothing. So they will you just go and bury that person.
The
Uh,
rules not entered it.
So yeah, no, our ruh enters. We know that ruh enters at 4 or 8 weeks, but you won't apply the fiqh of a live person on that baby. Um, so Prophet ﷺ saw many punishments of hell as well. So again, that kind of tells us that obviously he didn't enter Jannah because he definitely didn't enter hell. So he saw things in Jannah and he saw things in hell. Um, and there are lots of punishments which have been mentioned in different narrations. So one of the punishment is that someone who stole the orphans' money and they will have big bellies and they have got animals trembling, animals just kind of stampeding on them on their big bellies. So that's someone who's been eating the orphans' money. Some people who had the nails of copper and they were scratching their bodies and faces because they used to backbite. So backbiting, we know, is like in the Quran says that it's like eating your dead brother's meat. But then this is another punishment which is he saw. Then he saw another people who used to fornicate. They had pure meat and they had dirty rotten meat, and they were eating the dirty rotten meat and leaving the pure meat, and that same goes with what they were doing.
What's fornicating?
So they were having unlawful sexual relationships.
Okay.
Going to go home with the curd. That would have been entered.
So Prophet, peace be upon him, saw people with, again, the surge large belly. They could not even stand, and animals were being brought in to trample over them, and they were the one. Jibril said that these are the people who got the money from the riba. So if you take money from the interest, that's the punishment. And again, because they were earning this money and from the wrong ways, Allah is telling that okay, now you have got big bellies, because there were days when if you have got a lot of money you are going to be fat because you have got a lot of food, and then if you have got a lot of money you will have a lot of animals. So these are your animals on your flat bellies and they are just trampling over you. So Prophet, peace be upon him, also said that there were people cutting their own lips and tongues with scissors made of fire and copper, and Jibril said these are the people who used to tell others to do good and won't do and forget themselves. So Allah save us from that.
They
Um,
forget themselves.
So you need to be good yourself first before you tell others to be good.
Practice what you preach.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Oh, so are they basically hypocrites?
Yes, you can call that. Yeah. So they are hypocrites. They don't listen to what they are trying to teach others. So and there's another narration where it says that your ears and your heart is closest. The ears and the heart of the preacher are closest to his tongue. So he should hear what he's telling to others before others hear, and his heart should be affected before others' heart get affected. So your heart and your ears are the closest to your voice, to your tongue. Prophet peace be upon him said that he saw the Dajjal, and we discussed that he has got a bloated eye and he's one-eyed. Prophet Sallallahu also said that he came back to then the downward journey start. So on the way up, he went up and up and up and up because the aim is for the whole journey is that divine meeting. So when you are going to meet a dignitary, so you don't go sightseeing on your way. So you go. If I've been called to meet, say for example, the Queen,
Boris Johnson.
or Boris Johnson or Queen, whoever. So and they have sent a car. So I would go directly to see Queen first, and then after I finish, then I can say, okay, can you just show me the London, show me around what's in the London. So exactly same. So when Prophet says I'm going up, yes, he's meeting some welcoming parties, the prophets on his way up, but he's going up and up and up and up and up. And then he had that divine meeting, and once that is finished, then he's going sightseeing. So he's going to see Jannah, and he's going to see what's happening in the hell. And the other thing is that it's like there are three levels of yaqeen. So take it with you. So there are three levels of yaqeen. So what is it that somebody told you there's fire, and he's a trustworthy person, and you believed it. So what is that kind of a belief? What is that yaqeen? That is ilmul yaqeen. Okay? So he told you and you believed it. So that's ilmul yaqeen. Most of our iman is ilmul yaqeen because Prophet ﷺ told us and we believed it. The next is that you went where the fire is and you saw the fire. So you have seen it yourself now with your own eyes. So what kind of yaqeen is that? That's called haqq. That's called ainul yaqeen. Ain is for eyes, that you have seen it yourself. So that belief is a higher level than somebody just told you. Okay, the third is that you still not sure this looks like a fire, maybe it's fire, maybe it's not. Then you go close to it and then you can feel the heat. So what is that? Now it's definitely fire. From the far, you can see it, but it could be a plasma screen or something. You're not sure if it is actually
You're
fire.
experiencing it.
So now you went close to it and you experienced it. That's called haqqul yaqeen. So Allah is giving haqqul yaqeen to Prophet ﷺ about all the different aspects of iman. And we know amantu billahi, he went and saw Allah and spoke to him. So he's got haqqul yaqeen of amantu billah. Then amantu billahi wa rasulihi, and we have to believe on all the different prophets. He met all of them and he prayed with them and he led them in the prayer. Kutubihi, so all the books. So he saw the books, he spoke to the prophets themselves who had the books. So yeah, Kutubihi Rusuli wa qadr khayrihi, and so and shari min Allah Ta'ala, so qadr. So he saw the destiny, and he saw, because we mentioned that he went up and he heard the pen writing. So that's the book, the qadr. So the pen is writing in the book. So that's the qadr we know. So he heard that himself. So he had that haqqul yaqeen there. And then, so he saw the day of judgment. So all the different steps of iman. So his iman, Allah has taken it to a whole different level. And because our Iman can never get there, because he actually experienced all different aspects of Iman. So just with one Isra al-Mai'raj. So then he started coming down. He took the Burak, which is still there, where he left it. And rode back. On his way back, he passed 3 different caravans. And one of the caravan, he recognized few people. In the second caravan, when he was passing, he felt a bit thirsty, so he drank some water. And in the third caravan, he saw that they had a missing camel, and people were looking for their camel.
If he's riding on the Buraq back, wouldn't they see it?
Yeah,
Burak.
but he's too fast. So
No, but he stopped and drank the water from
yeah,
the
from they used to have like a one common area where they would keep it on their routes.
Yeah.
They will have keep one common, like what do we have? What do we call on the motorways? Service stations. So services. So we have services. So that kind of thing. So they would have places where they will have these provisions for the caravans. So he drank from one of those public provisions. So he, but he passed by 3 caravans and he recognized them. So where were we? So yeah, on his sorry.
Some group lose it.
Yeah, and he lost the camel, and he saw that they were looking for their camel. So he came back, and he went back to sleep. He came back to Makkah, and in the Hatim, where he started the journey from, he went back to there, and then he went back to sleep. So he was sleeping in the Hatim, and the next morning he woke up, and lo and behold, Abu Jahl is there. So he woke up and he felt very anxious. So the hadith says, I felt an anxiety that how I'm going to tell the people. That tells us that Allah told him to tell the people. And he was worried that they will reject me. So he was quite, yeah, they won't believe me. He was scared. How would I tell people? It's like nobody would believe me. And Abu Jahl passed away, and he saw Prophet ﷺ grief-struck. And Abu Jahl said, is everything okay? Why are you looking so grief-struck? Why are you hazeen? And Prophet ﷺ said, well, I went to my Allah took me to Jerusalem and back in last night. And he said, so, and you are with us now? So that's his question. And he said, yeah, and I'm back with you now. And he said, if you're not going to change your story. If I'll call other people, are you going to say what you're telling me? And he said, yes. So he's actually making sure that Prophet ﷺ is not going to change his position because he's got a chance to ridicule him. He started screaming, oh, Quraysh, come, we have got something to tell you. And when everybody gathered, he said, oh, Muhammad is saying that he went to Jerusalem and back in one night. And Prophet ﷺ said that they didn't know what to do. So some started clapping, some started laughing, some was lying down on the floor. So basically they were not sure what to do, how to react. So they were all making fun of him. And then one of them, who actually had been to Jerusalem, he said, okay, just describe us to Jerusalem, describe Jerusalem to us. And Prophet ﷺ started describing him that he saw this and he saw that and he saw that, till they started asking specific questions. He went in the night and he just drove past basically a thing. So he didn't actually really had a chance to see and remember everything. And then they started asking specific questions. He started getting worried again because he didn't know the answer. And he says, well, then what happened is the Prophet, Allah brought Baitul Maqdis. So he raised Baitul Maqdis, the image of Baitul Maqdis, and brought him in front of him. He said, Allah raised Baitul Maqdis till it came down to the house of Aqil ibn Abi Talib, his uncle's Abu Talib's house, where he grew up. So he just saw that Baitul Maqdis, the whole Baitul Maqdis was there, Jerusalem and Baitul Maqdis. And they started asking question. Whatever they asked a question, he could see that, and he started answering them, all the questions which they answered. So then that person said, okay, as far as the description of Baitul Maqdis and Jerusalem goes, then he is telling the truth, because they couldn't. And then he said, well, I can tell you something more. When I was coming back, I passed 3 caravans, and these were such and such caravans, and he gave them all the description of the caravan. The first caravan was these and these and these people. The second caravan, I drank some water from there, and third caravan, there were people who were their camels were lost, and they were looking for their camel. And Abu Jahl said, if that is true, if you are telling the truth, so the caravan should be coming back now.
1 week.
So they were not far, and in the morning the caravans have just come back to Mecca. So they went and they saw the caravan, and everything was true, and whatever he described, it all checked. And what did Abu Jahl said? He is bewitched. It's a seher.
Yeah.
It's a magic. So he's bewitched us. So he's a magician. So it's a magic. So then there is another narration that people in Ibn Ishaq, there is one word that mentioned that irtaddu, that people when they saw that they couldn't believe, and they actually become murtad. But the thing is that there is no other, although it's mentioned in Ibn Ishaq and Ibn Hisham, which is one of the biggest authorities of Sirah, but in other more authentic books, like because it's such a big thing, that Bukhari and Muslim and others would have mentioned it, anything like that, that these are the Sahaba which actually became murtad after listening to this. But there is no mention of that. And in fact, when Abu Sufyan was questioned by Heraclius or Harqal later on, and he said, who accept Islam, is it the rich or the poor? Prophet ﷺ said, no, the Abu Sufyan said poor. And then the other question he asked, which we will go through inshallah when we will reach there, that when somebody accepts Islam, do they leave the religion? And he said, no, nobody has ever left the religion once he's accepted Islam. So that kind of tells us that yes, it is mentioned in Ibn Hisham, but there is no other mention of it. So maybe it's not true, because we don't know if anyone leaving in Meccan era. Yes, in Medina era there are narrations that people have left Islam in that time, but not in Meccan era.
Is that because once you're a Muslim, you know the truth?
Do you know the truth?
And even if you deviate from
Yeah.
that, before your death, you can always say Tawbah.
Yeah.
And you can ask Allah for His forgiveness, and
Yeah.
you will always have the benefit of being
Yeah.
Muslim.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Wait, you have to be a Muslim to go into Jannah. That's what we believe. But okay, if there is anyone left from like the original Christianity and Judaism, would they still be able to go into Jannah?
it's a very long topic with a very lengthy discussion. It's not a quick one.
Okay.
The quickest answer I would give you is that we don't need to worry about it. It's Allah will not do injustice to anybody. That's the quickest answer I can give you, and that's what our scholars say. That's how we should deal with it. That Allah, leave it to Allah, and Allah is most just, and He will not do injustice to anybody. Does that answer your question to some extent? Yeah. But someday we might actually do more detailed discussion, inshallah. So there are 2 theological questions. Did the Prophet ﷺ saw Allah or not? There is one hadith narration mentioned by Ibn Abbas. It's an authentic narration, which he says that Prophet ﷺ actually has seen Allah. But in another narration from another chain, Ibn Abbas had said he's seen ru'yatul qalb. So he's seen Allah with his heart. So it's a different kind of seeing. But then there's a lot of other narrations which tells that no. In fact, there's one of the student, one of the Sahaba, one of the Tabi'in actually asked Hazrat Aisha radhiyallahu anha that this Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw Allah or not? And Aisha radhiyallahu anha said, "How dare you ask this question? My hair are standing on its end, and I'm trembling just because of your question, because that's such a wrong question to ask. Didn't you read in the Quran that nobody can encompass Allah?" So no, he hasn't seen. And then he mentioned this. The Sahabi mentioned that what about then? He was at both two bowlands, Kaaba Qausain, which is, do you know this Kaaba Qausain? Kaaba Qausain means two bowlands. He was two bowlands away from him. So that's mentioned in the Quran. And Aisha radhiyallahu anha answered that I was the first one to ask this from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said this is about Jibreel. So it's not about Allah, it's about Jibreel. And then there's another hadith which says, did you, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one Sahabi asked, did you see Allah? And he said, how could I see? There was light. So that was his answer. And then there's another hadith which says, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you tell us about when you met Allah, and he said, when I went to meet Allah, I couldn't see anything apart other than light, because he had a veil of light. So his veil, Allah's veil, is made of light, and that's what he saw.
Prophet Muhammad, he come near Allah more in Jibreel.
Say that again.
Prophet Muhammad,
Yeah.
he come to Allah
Yeah, he
more and what Jibreel
Closer.
yeah, Jibreel couldn't get
He
there.
couldn't
Yeah,
go.
Jibreel couldn't go there. So nobody has gone there where
Yeah.
Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has gone.
So yeah,
Yeah. So but he couldn't see Allah.
no.
But what he saw was his veil,
Yeah.
which is made up of light.
I remember Jibreel say here, لو دخلت لاحترقت.
Yeah, nobody can go up there. Yeah,
If I
Yeah, go- yeah, I will-
there
yeah.
you go and
Yeah. I can't go there because I'm not allowed. Yes,
So
you're right over there.
you said there are two theological questions,
Yeah.
and the theological question is this: Prophet Muhammad is human at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and we know no human can be in that divine presence. So is it that Allah's given him the wahi or a mechanism for being in some sort of metaphysical presence,
Yeah.
but not physically?
Well,
And it's not for us to like we said, we didn't know what was happened.
Yeah.
We don't need to know.
the other thing is that he had this shakal sadr. So so he had this open heart, and his heart was, so maybe that was preparing him to actually be able to do that journey, because otherwise no other person could do that. So he was preparing him to be able to do that journey from Jerusalem to Makkah, and then especially from Jerusalem up to heavens and then back, and seeing all of these things. Because there's scholars which mention that if any other human being would have seen a fraction of what Prophet ﷺ saw that night, he would have gone mad. And that's mentioned in the Quran in Surah Najm as well.
So it is possible. So in quantum physics, you can go and travel that kind of distance in a short space of time. So if you explore quantum
No.
time travel-
I'm not saying it. I'm saying in the sense that I suppose it's about being in the divine presence.
Yeah, because
And I think you've already explained about the veil and
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, what we have to remember is the Prophet Muhammad is still a man.
yeah, so I mean, see, when Musa alayhi salam asked Allah to show me, can I see you, so that I want to speak to you, what did Allah said? Look at that mountain, and if that mountain can withstand my presence, then we will talk. And then so Allah just put a tajalli. It says tajalli. The word is like just a bit of reflection on that mountain Tur, and the Tur kind of dissipated. It's completely gone. And because of that, Musa alayhi salam actually became unconscious. And after quite a while, when he regained his consciousness, he saw that the tour is gone. And then he never asked Allah to show him me again.
It's safer not to.
Yeah. So I mean, that's another prophet, and he's one of the biggest prophets.
Wait, you said that he has a veil. So does
Let
that
me
mean
just, we will come to that. Let me just quickly finish. I'm already over time. So we are already over time. Or should we just stop and come back to it again?
Come back to you.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, now you ask the question.
you
Fine.
said that he has a veil. Does that mean that he has, if not a body, then at least a face that we can see?
We don't
at
know.
some point?
We don't know. That's what I'm saying. We don't know. Nobody can know. Because
They
Allah
say he
says
has a
that what
veil.
nobody has seen it, nobody has imagined it.
It's
So
beyond
nobody
our
can.
comprehension
Yeah.
of the veil is.
We don't know even what the veil is, what a veil of light is. We can only think,
Don't
and
know
whatever we
what
think,
is.
it's not that. So that's the theology of Allah. So whatever you think, it's not that.
Yeah, but the Prophet said himself he couldn't see it because there was light.
Yeah,
blocking
because
it.
it said there was light.
But you're putting
So-
a
so-
human perspective on it. You're saying,
Yeah.
oh, should I look at her face?
Yeah.
Allah is beyond these.
Yeah. So when Allah says that I've got hands or feet, or Allah mentioned about his hands or feet or anything, it's just because we understand that language. So it's for us to understand, because that's what we understand. Somebody has to have hands or has to have ears or eyes or nose, or so that's for our understanding. But Allah doesn't need ears, doesn't need hands, doesn't need eyes or nose to see or to do things. He need to just say kun and everything happens. Kun fayakun. So he just has to think of something happening and it will happen. And
he
so-
He
is.
doesn't
Plus,
need
when
to-
you're in the day of judgment, you're
Yeah.
in his court. You're going to see him anyway.
Yeah, so we will see Allah, but that will be, Allah will recreate us and will give us a body which can withstand seeing Allah. So that will be the body which will not decay, will not get old, you will not feel hungry, you will not feel thirsty, you won't need to go to the toilet. So that's a different kind of a body. So it won't be this body.
Do we still
on the
have,
day of
like,
judgment.
arms and legs in the temple?
No, there is no such thing as there's no
We'll have to wait and see.
musiba. There's no musiba. There's no hardship in Jannah. It's all good. There's nothing bad in Jannah. When you go into Jannah, that's it. Everything is good after that.
पाकिस्तानी poet
That answer
John
the question that
Rahmani,
you said.
he says ज़रे तूर को जो जाए उसे आप क्या कहेंगे खुदा खुद जिसे बुलाए उसे आप क्या कहेंगे जो करे कलाम रब से वो लक़्ब कलीम पाए जो रब का कलाम सुनाए उसे आप क्या कहेंगे. It's a beautiful verses
Yeah.
to sum up some of
Yeah.
the things you've been talking about.
Yeah, don't worry, you don't have to go to school in Jannah.
Yes, you don't have to go to school and you don't have to do anything. Yes. So yeah, inshallah we'll stop here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. So that's the dua which Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. Whenever you are in a gathering, when you finish the gathering, you say this dua, and if there is any thing which you have missed, or if there is some deficiency, Allah will cover that up.
Allah zikr hai.
Yes. Jazakallah.
Cover it up or get rid of it.
We'll cover that deficiency and get
Are
rid of
you
it.
simply telling, like,
Walaikum assalam.
what's like the better, like,